Being Eddie is the new Eddie Murphy documentary that's on Netflix. And you have so many guest appearances on this documentary. Jerry Seinfeld, Dave Chappelle, Kevin Hart, Chris Rock, Tracy Morgan, Tracy Ellis Ross, Jamie Foxx, Ruth Carter, Pete Davidson, Arsenio Hall. You- you- I mean, a lot of these names didn't surprise me, but yeah, it would have been so much better if Charlie Murphy would have participated in it, but unfortunately, he's no longer with us. And Eddie definitely misses his brother. You could tell at one point in the documentary that he almost got emotional, saying that, especially when he said that no one in his life has made him laugh more than Charlie Murphy, and he misses him. So, yeah, I just wish he would have participated in that. In this documentary, I love the stories that Eddie Murphy talks about him and his parents. His parents got married when they were young, very young. They were like 18, 19 or something like that. His biological father, he he died when he was very little. He got killed by a female, according to Charlie Murphy, when he was alive when he said that. Um, but his biological father, yes, he had him for a short amount of time. His biological father was the life of the party, according to what Eddie Murphy says. But his stepdad became a much bigger father figure to him. And his stepfather's name is Vernon Lynch. And he was a boxer. He was a person that was very strict on them. And Eddie Murphy said that it wasn't until he was like 12 or 13 that he said to himself that he was going to be famous. And to have such a tremendous belief in himself as such a he knew that he was going to be famous, and he knew that he wanted to be famous starting early on. And the fact that he was able to fulfill that after high school, Saturday Night Live was obviously the game changer for him and for the show, because before Eddie Murphy, the show was declining. And then when Eddie Murphy joined the cast, which was like in 1980 or 1981, it became must-see TV. So when Eddie Murphy was on Saturday Night Live, you had, kids at the time like Dave Chappelle who would tune in to watch Eddie Murphy on Saturday Night Live. And it's funny, Dave Chappelle went from, seeing this guy on Saturday Night Live through his TV screen at home to ended up working with him in The Nutty Professor, the very first one, which Dave Chappelle, who was not really known at the time, he was a stand-up comedian. That was his role in that movie. So I first saw Dave Chappelle in Blue Streak. I did it in reverse. First I saw him in Blue Streak, then I saw him in The Nutty Professor. But Eddie Murphy, he really paved the way for a lot of comedians. In the 70s, it was Richard Pryor. Obviously, Eddie Murphy looked up to Richard Pryor, but he took it to a different stratosphere in the sense that doing multiple characters in movies like Coming to America, The Nutty Professor, and so forth. And what Eddie Murphy was doing in the 80s, I mean, we're talking about 48 Hours, Trading Places, Beverly Hills Cop. Beverly Hills Cop was huge because um at the time I think black actors weren't having so much success in the box office, or not accumulate 20 million at the box office or more. And he was able to do that. And then after that, I feel like after, yes, Saturday Night Live, he got attention. But I feel like in terms of worldwide attention, where in the sense that he was off to the races, was after Beverly Hills Cop, in my opinion. From there, I mean, he had Successful Party All the Time, which came out in '85. Delirious, which is one of the greatest stand-up comedies that ever seen, came out in '83. You know, him with the red leather suit, with the red leather pants. And then Raw in 1987. Oh man, Delirious and Raw, it can be done today because it's way too politically correct, too soft, in my opinion. In other words, yeah, way too soft. But the story behind 40 Hours is interesting because he was the leading man, and at the time, you know, they would make black comedians as the sidekick, especially for that kind of particular film. After the first 2 weeks, people wanted Eddie Murphy fired, but Jeffrey Katzenberg, and this is why I say that when it comes to any industry, you don't make it by yourself. There's always going to be some people that they're going to champion you, that they're going to help you and take you to another level. Jeffrey Katzenberg, who's a film producer, supported Eddie Murphy. And he told people, like, no, no, give him a chance, let him run the ball. And it turned out to be a great decision. He was great in 48 Hours. Trading Places was a great as well. And like I said, Beverly Hills Cop, you know, was a game changer. It did well in the box office. And Eddie Murphy, in his opinion, he felt that he changed the perception of black actors. So, and Eddie Murphy is very revered by so many black comedians and actors in general. He's very revered. You know, he paved the way and influenced guys like Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle, Martin Lawrence. The list goes on and on. Kevin Hart. The list goes on and on and on. Some of my favorite Eddie Murphy movies, obviously Trading Places, Beverly Hills Cop, Boomerang is up there. Boomerang is up there. Um, if you look at that cast in Boomerang, oh my God, so many stars in that movie. So many, so many. When I was little, one of my early memories of Eddie Murphy was Vampire Brooklyn and The Nutty Professor, and then obviously Dr. Dolittle. Vampire Brooklyn is a movie that it just never grabbed my attention, and obviously it didn't do so well. But one thing that was mentioned in the documentary that it reminded me that I was like, man, I forgot about this part. And that is when David Spade made a skit on SNL and basically calling Eddie Murphy a fallen star. And that burned and pissed off Eddie Murphy so bad because, you know, and he was right because he said, like, you know, your alma mater just basically, you know, bashed you. And he wasn't really mad at Dave Spade. Is the fact the people that were behind this, that were behind this, you know, basically the top people at SNL. So because of that, he stayed away. He didn't return to SNL for 30 years later. But yeah, I understood where Eddie Murphy was coming from in that situation. Eddie Murphy, he's a person that constantly is creating, even to this day. He always has his phone with him and he does a voiceover about anything that comes to mind. But one thing's for sure is that Eddie Murphy, he's done a lot. He's done a lot. You know, see his work with Shrek as voiceover. He plays so many different characters. The one thing that I'm not too sure that I agree with Eddie Murphy is the fact that he still doesn't have an Oscar. Again, I, I feel like actors should get to a point where they should not worry so much about winning an Oscar and just continue to elevate and put out consistent work and get better in your craft. Like, don't aim for to win an Oscar because let's be honest, there's a lot of people, there's certain people that they should have had more than one Oscar. There's some people that should have won above the others. Like historically, the Oscars for the most part, you know, I won't say for the most part, but there's just been a lot of times where they just don't get it right. So I don't know, the whole Oscar thing, I don't agree with the whole that part that Eddie Murphy was coming from. I just look at Eddie Murphy as a person that he's done it for such a long time. He's still going strong. He has opened doors for so many actors and comedians. He was very creative. Those are things that I admire and I respect about Eddie Murphy. And it took me to get to a certain age where I started to appreciate guys like Eddie Murphy and even Chris Rock. Because when I was little, they never really grabbed my attention, but it wasn't until I got much older that I started paying attention and realizing everything that they brought into the industry. So salute to Eddie Murphy. I'm glad that I saw his documentary. So my review from 1 through 5, I'm gonna go with a 4 out of 5 stars.